Welcome to the Dogger Pass podcast. I'm your host, Dan Tom, analyst whose work you can find a bunch of different places on the interwebs, but right here on this program, the Dogger Pass podcast, well, we break down high-level MMA. That's what we're going to do here today tonight. Whenever you're listening to this, hopefully it's before the fight. We'll be breaking down UFC Fight Night 166, UFC Vegas 113, UFC Fight Night Bautista Oliveira. You know how they do with these. They got multiple names, but thankfully, there's multiple hosts on this show to help tackle these never-ending UFC shows, which we're going to try to make some money on them today. And, well, I got Mad Lab MMA. My guy, Mad Lab Mike. What's up, Mad Lab?
What's up, dude? What's going on? I'm excited to break this card down. I'm excited to get this fucking disgusting piece of fucking artillery I have in front of me right now that I'm willing to pay my bet off on the main event. That was a bad read on my end. I'm very disappointed with myself on that read with the main event, but a bet is a bet, and while you're talking and doing your thing, I will be drumming up this thing. I'll just let you know what's in here. I'm not home. I'm in my studio, so I had to put him in these. Look at that, Dan.
Dedication. Wow. It looks pickled in there.
It's
traveling with it.
So I got some green hot sauce in here. I got some mustard in here. I have that Japanese sauce that I like that you have.
Okay, all right.
In there. I got some Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce in there. I have some A1 sauce in there. I have some Worcestershire sauce in there.
Oh, vinegary.
Very, very vinegary. I have a little pickle juice in there.
Oh,
yeah, I got a little
going hardcore.
Little touch of pickle juice in there, and I also have another mustard. It's like a chipotle mustard in there.
Oh, dude, I would die.
No ketchup. No ketchup. I actually ran out of ketchup. I didn't have any ketchup in my refrigerator. It's the only thing I was missing. Oh my gosh. While you're talking, I am going to mix this up, but I'm very disappointed in my read on that. Before I eat that, I would just say you can make way too many adjustments, and I personally, in my opinion, I think that this shows when sometimes maybe you need a little change of view. You need another camp, someone else to give you a different look, because when you get a guy like Diego Lopez who is born on chaos and wins his fights on chaos, it's okay to pull your chaos back a little bit, but they took his chaos completely out of the game and they tried to be a little bit too technical. I think they actually over-adjusted his game. Bad read on my end, good read on your end, and while you're talking, I'm going to mix this up and take a bite.
Well, I appreciate that, and again, Mike's paying off the shit sandwich. I had to do it for taking Patty over Gaethje, which I felt dumb on. So, man, we all have those picks that, in hindsight, we're like, oh, my goodness. You could do worse than taking a shot on Diego Lopez as a dog, though, to be honest. But, yeah, this was a rematch that actually did go the same way. I was hoping for a finish, maybe some more grappling. But apparently, I was listening to an interview that, Colby Thickness did, and he was saying that Volk actually hurt his shoulder in this camp. So once he hit resistance from that wrestling early on in the fight, he just stayed away from it. Oh, my goodness, look at that thing. Oh my God! I feel like I'm gonna have a harder time listening and watching Mike eat this than I did my own payoff.
Why is it chunky,
Mike?
Why is it chunky?
Because there's like two different mustards in there, bro. I'm gonna dry heave on this show right here.
Bro. We might have two, dude. I can't do. Oh my God, mustard is You guys might want to make me stock mustard for the next one if you want to see me throw up, because that's
I gotta get like a bag in case I throw up.
I react to mustard how like World War I soldiers must react to mustard gas, which is a terrible comparison to make, but that's how much of a whiny little bee I am when it comes to mustard, man. Oh my goodness, I can't believe
Here we go.
It's like a horror film. I don't know if I like to watch the screen or not, or they'll look away. I'm like, oh, he's eating. Okay, he's down there. He's gonna come.
Oh God. Dude.
Oh, oh no. Oh Jesus. Oh Mikey.
Oh God,
dude, that's commitment, bro. Don't feel like you had to finish that thing. That's my God. I can't even believe you took even one bite of it.
I'll do
my
one
goodness. More. What? All right. What a champ.
Well, you did two big bites, so I gotta.
Yeah, just don't spill it on your computer like I did I did mine like an idiot.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, dude. That's all I mean. I feel like I just went on to one. Oh my God! I don't know about you, Dayton, but it feels like you perused a little too far down the rabbit hole on some porn channel you did not mean to come across. You know what I'm saying? You're like, okay, this is not for me. This is very disturbing.
Oh God, I just dry heaved, dude. I literally just dry heaved.
Oh my gosh!
Sorry, guys out there, if that got you, I can't do it.
Does Mayo ever make bets with like cuss for him to eat crap like this, or does he ever do that? Dayton,
No, Cust would probably do that voluntarily.
Well, that's why he's got stuff. That the other day was hilarious. Well, hey, props to pay off that bet. And Mike, you may have lost head to head, but you were hitting some good stuff all around the board. There was more fights than just that card. Just anything you want to touch on, really quick while you're recovering. I'll just say that it was another. I always count for the losses here. It was another losing night here. It wasn't as bad as what I felt because it was more like the potential unit swing. It was another one of those. UFC 318 Kevin Holland dropped the ball and was a little 30 unit swing kind of a night. It wasn't quite that level or whatever. I didn't have that much exposure, but I did have a decent exposure on the Yija over Konofsky, who literally stole one there, and not his fault. He fought his ass off. Props to him. But yeah, man, I was seeing a bunch of people react to that decision who don't even bet. So that's how I knew it was a bad decision. And yeah, so if that hits, then it's a winning night. If even if that didn't hit, and actually I got robbed or whatever, if I took Hooker on a live bet and he was looking good, I got him at plus 140, and thankfully that paid off itself. The fight ends in round 2. We talked about that being the hot round there. But yeah, I put that live bet in, and then all of a sudden he goes for a takedown out of nowhere. And again, I know it wasn't just me because people that weren't betting were tweeting like, dude, is this like the night where all the fighters just start sabotaging themselves? Like, what's going on? Like that was like 1 out of 2 performances of the night. It felt like, so it was just one of those nights where it was a loss. And, even though it's, easy to feel bad about those, this is one of those where I actually don't feel too bad about, yeah, last week's loss to start the year was definitely on me or whatever, but and we closed the year strong, and I thought I actually closed the year strong with that Jan card too, Mike. So I thought this would have been winning 3 out of my last 4, but I actually lost that card by just under 4 units. But you also have to remember I had just over 5 units exposure on Pantoja. Again, freak injuries, bad decisions, you name it, come back to me. You can guess which side I was on. So if you think about it, outside of a freak injury and a robbery scorecard, I basically won 3 out of my last 4. I know that's massive cope right there, but feel free to stomp on that. Add to it. Well, what do you have anything to add on to the mic to the weird stuff we saw, or not weird stuff that we saw on Saturday night before we move on?
Yeah, I came back down to earth a little bit this week. Last week, obviously, I had a monster week. This week, I came back down to earth a little bit. Thank God for boxing. We hit a 2-night parlay with boxing. That kind of leveled us out a little bit. I had Diego Lopez, obviously. That was a bet of mine that I lost, so I lost 2 units there. I hit on BSD inside the distance, which kind of recovered that a little bit. Had Oban Elliott, that was looking good until he wasn't. So I was down that if the boxing parlay didn't hit, it could have been a little bit of a rough night, but it kind of ricocheted back, cleaned us up. We didn't even lose a half a unit, so we're still up like over 10 units on the start of the year. But I did come down to earth a little bit this week.
Nice. Well, I'm down 7.5 to start this year, so we'll see where we end up, especially with these round robins, even though they've been hitting more, especially the alternates. But I don't count those for my record, which is silly because there really is no, what are we counting and what aren't we counting here? But we should be getting to counting what this next card is, because speaking of rough outs, it's time for a bounce back for myself, and more importantly for a lot of the fighters on this card. Some deceptively decent matchups for an Apex card, but it is an Apex card. Of course, we are talking about UFC Vegas 113, UFC Fight Night 266, UFC Fight Night Bautista versus Lockdog Oliveira. And of course, starting in the main event, we've got Bautista as your favorite. He's coming in at minus 183 in that neighborhood with a comeback on Vinicius Oliveira. Your underdog is Lockdog at roughly plus 125 in that neighborhood there. Over under is going to be 4.5 for this 5-rounder. Under is minus 142, over 4.5 plus 122. I will note those kind of flipped from the openers. It was like, I believe, minus 115 for it to go over, which if you like the Bautista side, I imagine, probably ends in decision more times than not, even if it's a 6 out of 10 more times, or maybe it's an 8 out of 10 times. I think there's actually a decent propensity to finish for both sides here. I think hot round for both fighters is going to be round 3. The hot round for Lock Dog Oliveira is going to be round 2 because he is a fighter who, even though he has a lot of first round finishes, as he's gotten better competition, you'll see he's been a good live better because he'll actually drop the first round pretty consistently. And he really turns up, and he's got a very much a low-handed style, like a Brazilian Bobby Green, if you will. He loves to just slip and rip. As dangerous as it looks, there is a method to the madness. However, straight punches, kicks, and even knees, which both fighters are good with knees. Both fighters have flying knee finishes, right? But both fighters are also susceptible to knees, and I think Oliveira is definitely susceptible to knees with the way he kind of violently swings his trunk in and out. He is a good offensive wrestler from the clinch, a really good top game, showed some bad bottom game against Bernardo Sopai, but again, was able to come back. And that was his UFC debut for what it's worth. And again, folks, I've got Apex records and Southpaw records for the whole card. For what it's worth, Bautista is 4-1 in that Apex. He's actually 5-1 in the small octagon. Because he beat Guido Canetti at that Peter Yan versus Merab fight, their first one. I was at that live that was over in the old Hard Rock, which is now the Virgin Hotel, and they use a small cage for that one. I totally forgot about that fight because I was pissed drunk. Shout out to my guy Martin for the tickets and good time. But yeah, and Lock Dog, he is 1-0 in the Apex, that Bernardo Sopai fight that I previously mentioned where he was down and won. And he's 2-0 if you count his Contender Series fight where he got the left hook knockout. Mike, I guess I unapologetically took the first turn here to set up the fight. So let me throw it to you, sir. Anything you want to agree, disagree, add on to? More importantly, what do you like for this fight?
This is an interesting one for me because you said it perfectly, bro. Like you kind of gave me a softball here to kind of just capitalize on. Vinicius is a kid where you're right. Like,
check. Did we lose Mike, Dayton? Hey, what's up? You're back, Mike.
Oh, you lost me. I'm sorry. He can lose that round number 1. You know what I mean? And and if you look at his trajectory, if you look at the fights, when he fought Ricky Simone at a time like where was Ricky Simone? We remember Ricky Simone back in the day, like he was that pressure wrestler. He was on your hips. He was, a heavy running downhill. Then all of a sudden he became a striker, and it was like he got lost in translation on who he was. He fought Nurmagomedov. We've seen, what happened with Nurmagomedov, where this guy will come out of the gates and he will win that first round, but all of a sudden he fades out into the night. His cardio just takes a dump and he fades. Comes back and he fights Phillips, a guy who doesn't usually really fade, but he is chaotic and he will open windows and give you these trap doors to kind of jump through. So all these matchups kind of set up for a Vinicius, a Lock Dog type of style fight. This fight to me is a little bit different. When you get a guy in Bautista who's a little bit more disciplined, a little bit more composed, a little bit more, he's not rushing to find finishes. He's not like, jumping in through these crazy windows. He's waiting for things to present themselves. And if they don't present themselves, he will go to the cards. He has no problems with doing so. That's the problem I think Vinicius is going to run into here. You're going to be fighting a guy who may take an early jump on you because you're consistently allowing people to, but he's not going to fade and he's not going to stray away from his game plan. He's not going to change the spots on that leopard. And I think Vinicius might fall into a trap in the 3rd and 4th round where now he's starting to feel like he needs a finish and he's going to start getting really chaotic and he's going to start really fighting way more out of character than sometimes he already does. And that's where Bautista needs just to stay composed. He needs to fight his fight. He needs to just slow things down to his pace, to where he wants to do it. And another thing is, I think that, we talk about Vinicius' offensive wrestling and stuff. We don't see much of Bautista, pursuing that, but he's a very good wrestler in his own merit. He's a very good wrestler. He's a good grappler. Like he's very, very well-rounded. He's very disciplined. He's very composed and calculated. And I think that's the path that's going to win him this fight here. I think him staying composed, not being caught in a tornado, and realizing that like down the stretch when Vinicius starts getting chaotic and starts getting dangerous, do not stray from that game plan. Do not bite. Do not step on a landmine and just start going into this big firefight with him. Keep your game plan and allow him and make him chase you. Don't go hunting and chasing him. And I think if that happens, it could open up for a finish, because when you do fight crazy and you do fight chaotic and out of character, sometimes you will just open up all these windows. or it could go to the cards where he wins a decision. So I'm going with Bautista in this one.
Yeah, I love it, Mike. You said I pitched you a softball, but no, man, I left out the Bautista capitalization and kind of what his angle is, and you picked that up perfectly. And I agree with what you said. More specifically, Bautista used to be a little more dynamic, a little more shifty, and he still does some really good shifts. He'll mix in the knee in there, and when he shifts to southpaw, and that's what he caught and dropped Umar Nurmagomedov with, right? And if you look at that fight, he actually had the big moments in the first rounds 1 and 2. He had the drop in round 2, which again, I don't. I'm not mad at the judges for going Umar, for the overall body of work in the round. But then he also has a big submission attempt, which I know judges traditionally don't rate a lot, but that submission attempt did damage. He had Umar limping for the rest of the fight. That's a damaging submission attempt. That's a submission catch. So he was in that fight, and he has this long winning streak. But it was after that Trevin Jones fight where he really tightens up his stand-up, Mike, to the things you were talking about. He's been much more of a fundamental boxer. We really saw that in that patchy mix fight, right? And I believe, man, you had a nice angle on Bautista there, and he made you look great. He was just boxing in and out, circling. He was going body and head and mixing it up, which, I love. I'm a big fan of. And that stuff's very effective. I know when somebody slips and rips heavily from their trunk, like Oliveira does, kicks are obviously there. And I think DC on commentary was calling for hooks instead of straight punches, but not necessarily. Straight punches work fine, because after that fight where he was calling for that, I think it was even the Simone fight, and Simone starts lighting him up with some straight punches. And I see Bautista doing the same, man. He fights incredibly smart, and he also can match the size parity. He's another big bantamweight for the division at 5'9". Except here's the difference, Mike. And I want to get your opinion on this. Bautista is he's always been big, but you could tell he's come from a more skinnier frame, right? Even if you didn't see his earlier footage, right? He more filled out into the weight class. Whereas Oliveira, I don't think he's very long for the weight class. He's already 30. So in the next year or two, I think, these cuts are going to be a problem if they aren't already. Where Oliveira just seems just freaking huge. And I know he is technically an inch and a half shorter on reach and same height, same leg reach. But Mike, those numbers don't contextualize everything, right? As far as body mass and whatnot. And Mike, I just want to throw this to you because again, this is your specialty, weight cutting and stuff you have a lot of experience in. He's got to make 136, right? 135, but they give you the 1 pound allotment. 7 days out from the weight cut, Oliveira post a photo of him on the scale at 74 kgs, Mike.
Yeah, listen, man, I'm not a big proponent in crashing your weight cuts. I'm always a proponent in being in target range, no matter what time of the year it is, especially if you're an active fighter and you're a fighter that's going to you want the call. Like if you're a younger fighter and you want the call, because let's face it, in this day and age now, you can get the call any day. So I'm a big firm believer in staying within target range. So when I see something like that, I'm not a fan of that, but some people do it well. Look at Paddy Pimblett. I mean, this is a guy who literally will blow up the fucking epic proportions, even though he's not doing it so much now, but he did blow up at epic proportions. And I mean, his skin elasticity, everything, just he dials himself in. Genetically, some people can do it. Genetically, some people can't. But eventually, as you get older, it gets harder and it's going to catch up to you.
Yep. Yeah, and I think this could be a spot, first 5-round fight against a very experienced guy who's been due a 5-round fight for a minute. So I'm going to go with Bautista. Now, from a betting angle, it gets tricky, right? Because he can win by decision. I think he can win by submission because he's going to grapple more. I think Bautista, remember there's wrestling Bautista, and even though Oliveira looks tough to wrestle, especially at the first layer, once you get him down, I think there's going to be a discrepancy there. There isn't rank. It's a brown belt versus a purple belt for whatever the hell that's worth, right? But the small cage encourages grappling, right? So if you go, double chance points and TKO on Bautista, you can get screwed there, right? Because then he gets a submission, or you go submission and points, right? And then it's a TKO, right? Because again, Bautista can crack. And Oliveira, by the way, he's been rocked in his last 2 fights by punches. And in 2 of his last 4 fights, he's also been hurt, not by punches. But again, folks, I talk about my canary in the coal mine. We were talking about these longer, lanky, bigger guys cutting at these lower weight classes as they get older. Bad chemistry and things start to break, like shoulders and this and that. And Oliveira, he popped his ribs, and now he still beat Saeed. Really impressive, right? He's a lock dog. He'll fight through it, right? But he had that rib injury. And then remember against Ricky Simone in a fight, he's dominating. He almost looks like he snaps his shin. He hit and he's limping and again, like O'Malley, you see that Royval, right? I called that knockout and to end the year, folks. I didn't get the victory lap that, but remember, I even said it might look like Barbosa versus Gaethje and posted that clip. But again, analysis means nothing to some people. But hey, that's why we do the work. We to get those results. And I think this thing's going to be creeping on Oliveira. You know, he's walking a real fine line here. I'm a big fan of him. I bet him his last 2 times out, Mike. He's made me money. But here's my angle to tie up this loose thread so we can move on and get to knock out the rest of this card here. But basically, if I'm up, pause for laughter, by the end of the card, I'm really tempted to add Bautista 3, 4, and 5. But instead of having to choose, Parker, between all the different things, if you have a house that offers these round props, here's the safe bet. This is what I'm going to do officially. Mario Bautista, I think he's plus 145 to win round 4, 5, or by decision. You put a unit on that. I put fight ends in round 3 in my round robin. So that's the hot round, either fighter. And if Mario ends it earlier, I can still cash that angle, right? And then you've got Oliveira in the same round groupings for 1, 2, and 3 at plus 450. You only have to put a quarter unit on that to guarantee profit either way there. And obviously you're going to want Bautista to win because you'll get more profit that way, but you're covered. You're covered either way if Oliveira gets that early finish. What do you think of that angle, Mike?
Yeah, I do like it. One thing I do want to add on something you said, I think you said Daniel Cormier said this in his last fight about how he should be throwing more overhand rights.
Yeah.
I couldn't disagree more. More because listen, yes, there's certain style of fighters that you can fight that way with, but someone like Vinicius, you don't want to fight that. The straight shots that come down the center line are warning shots, number one, and they also keep the other fighter honest from taking those chances. You know what I mean? If you like, jabs are meant to, you could sting a person with a jab, but sometimes a jab is just meant to blind you. Just meant to blind you. You know what I mean? So I couldn't disagree more. I think that game plan going against someone like Vinicius could be his death sentence.
Absolutely.
And I think that him being composed and keeping that jab out and keep working that jab and keeping his defensive educated, that's what wins in this fight, because then all of a sudden you run out of chess moves and you're like, now I got to go. And that's when people get sloppy. So, I mean, I don't know which fight he said that in, but I couldn't disagree more.
Yeah, I figured you would. No, I figured you'd be on the same page as me. And also, it's easier to counter when you overthrow a right than it is to counter a quick jab, which we all know. And Oliveira likes to counter. So to your point, Mike, why would you give him that? Yeah. All right, let's move to the co-main event here. We gave that more than enough respect. We'll slowly speed things up as it goes along. But this is a good fight. We got Amir Albazi versus Kyoji Horiguchi. The Gooch, he is minus 365, baby. Comeback on Albazi plus 290, over 2.5 minus 230, under 2.5 plus 190. A bit inflated, both the totals and even the money line, though I don't disagree with either, by the way, being moderately to even slightly heavily favored. But Mike, I went too long on this fight. Let me just throw some Apex stats, and I want to see what you have to kick off this fight. Albazi is 2-0 in that UFC Apex, although he could be 1-1. One of that was to Kai Kara-France. Curious of what your thought on that was. I actually thought Kai Kara-France edged that out. And Gooch, of course, is 0-0. He's never fought in the Apex before. Mike, what do you got for this fight?
Yeah, I don't got much to say about this fight. It's very hard when you got a guy who hasn't fought since 2024. Looked horrible against Morono when he did fight him. I agree with you. I think he is 0-2 in his last 2. I think Kai Kara-France did win that fight. And then on the other side, you got a guy in Horiguchi where, let's be real, I'm not being nasty to the casuals and stuff like that, but when Horiguchi did come in, a lot of people didn't really know who he was, because the last time he was in the UFC was in 2016, and 3/4 of these YouTube pages and these new providers weren't even watching it back then. So they didn't understand how good Horiguchi actually was. So they were all over Ulanbekov, not giving this guy any serving this guy any credit. Horiguchi's really, really good. And Horiguchi's a guy who I think he's 35, 36. So he's on the cusp right now. So you got to wonder, like, what's going to happen as far as, like, is the age going to creep in at any point in time? And Albazi, you also got to wonder, is like, what kind of game plan is he going to come in with? We haven't seen him since 2024. We have no idea. So that's why I don't like the line for Horiguchi, because you don't have enough of a measuring stick to see, like, is he going to come in the same Albazi, the same thing? Kind of, you can break him, gasses out, good athlete, and has some upside, but there are some issues. Or is things going to change? Is he going to come in with a completely different approach where we're almost like, what's it called, when he fought Oban Elliott, and he beat the hell out of Oban Elliott before his last fight? Was it
Co?
Yeah, he came in and no one expected him to do what he did, but he ended up wrestling. You don't know what Albazi's going to do with this approach, but I got to go with Horiguchi. He's the more active fighter. He fought 3 times last year. He's got momentum behind him. You don't know how you bounce back after a loss, and that loss was in 2024, and it was a bad loss to Morono. So I'm going Horiguchi, but that price tag is something I'm going to be staying away from.
Yeah, it's tough to know, man. I'm looking at he's still doing makeshift camps, and this one I don't even recognize anybody he's doing the camp with now. So Albazi was kind of doing things with Dewey Cooper and Ode Osborne and those guys, and they kind of broke up, and Cody Garbrandt, and they had their own little camp. And with the injuries and stuff, it looks like he's been away and just mainly recovering and even traveling with now his own like separate camp. And there's not a lot of posts from Albazi. And he's had to pull out of multiple fights. And even when he came back, he looked like a shell of himself, right? Went to do a grappling match, lost to guys like Jafel Filo, who's really good, right? Not just MMA fighter. That guy's a legit Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. You know, me and Mike have backed him before for a reason. So it would I would expect Jafel Filo to beat him Albazi on a good day, right? So no surprise there. And then he has to pull out of a grappling fight again because he's trying to stay active and get healthy, but he can't even stay healthy for the grappling matches that don't really mean anything. And the last one that he gets a win on is like some Russian journeyman and doesn't even grapple. He's an MMA fighter. He's like 15-2 over on the Russian scene. And yeah, so that doesn't really tell me anything. Whereas Horiguchi has been training for fights like this. Even when he was over in Rizvan, he was still training at American Top Team where they have cages and American top level fighters in and around his weight class. But I feel like at Albazi's best, he makes it a fight where, Horiguchi could get robbed for optics and control when he should be the winner of damage. I honestly feel like that's the best case scenario for Albazi. And that's not a very good case scenario, A, and I don't think we're going to get that, B, with the transitions, the time off, the injuries. So even if he is healthy, the time off, the adjustments, training with new camp, not the high level guys that, the Gooch is training with, and whatever, octagon jitters, Gooch's already been there before. And then he came back, and need I remind you folks, I cashed on Gooch last time and had him inside the distance, like plus 300 in my round robin. So yeah, I'm actually going to go with the Gooch here. It's hard to play him though. I was going to see what the points KO I wrote down here and these cheeky things. And unless you want to take a shot at him inside the distance, then you're kind of having to overpay for the money line. But I did parlay the money line when it was minus 340 with somebody else on the card for a nice 2-legger for even money, Mike. So stay tuned for that. But that's all I got for this fight. I might throw Kyoji inside the distance and a round robin again, like I did last time too. Because again, it's nothing I want to bank on to be too heavily exposed on, right? But they are giving nice numbers for inside the distance. Decent ones, I should say. All right, let's go to the next fight then, shall we? It's going to go to the Jailman. Jailton.
That's your boy. That's your boy.
Jailman's going to Pound Town. What is he, though? We'll see. Versus Rizvan Kuniev. Jailman was a much bigger favorite, but it's gone a bit. The line's gone a bit soft on him. It's been a little too, it's not as tumescent. He's minus 145 now, Mike, with the comeback on Kuniev. Money coming in on the underdog plus 125, under 1.5 rounds plus 115, over 1.5 minus 135. It's not plus money, but it is within. Shout out to the MMA analysis guys. It is within Fatty's going to Fatty's range. We got Jailton Almeida in the smaller octagon. He is of course 2-0. In this bad boy in the Apex, 3-0 if you count the Dana White Contender Series fight. Kuniev is he's a 2-0 with 2-0 with Dana White Contender Series fights because he fought there twice, but then his last fight was of course in Baku against Curtis Blades. Sketchiness or non-sketchiness of the scorecards, however you want to look at that aside, that was the fight I just watched, Mike, and I wanted to see how Kuniev defends. He's mainly a Wushu Sanda guy, which Wushu Sanda, it's more of like a sport kickboxing with takedowns. So there is grappling, but whether it's offensive or defensive, these guys don't have much of a first layer. It's like score. I don't even know if they really allow you to punch like once or twice, and you have to get up. It's almost like karate combat in that sense, right? And Kuniev's got a lot of his accolades in that. I don't know how many of them come from Sambo or combat Sambo. Now, he had good first layer takedown defense, but Mike, what has me slightly siding toward the Jailman here is that even though his takedowns can be hit or miss and he can fall apart and he will be at an on-paper disadvantage striking with Kuniev, who is a big heavyweight, mind you. What Kuniev doesn't, what Kuniev allows way too much of is that even when he defended Curtis Blades' takedowns, he let Curtis kind of just shuck off to a rear waist cinch every time. And yes, Kuniev looked comfortable and he fought the hands and kind of did what you're supposed to do and would try to cheese grate against the side, even though he would turtle to get up and create back exposure. The point is, whether he was in the clinch, defending, or having to get up from being taken down, the man exposes his back. And that is the one thing. Say what you will about Jailman and whether he's going to finally evolve and fight criteria friendly with damage, Mike. Regardless, the one thing you don't want to give him is your back, right? They call him the Jailman for a reason. You don't turn your back and drop the soap. Mike, what do you have for this fight, man?
Yeah, one thing that you said, I want to put a thumbtack in for when I finish this.
Little plug in it.
Before. Yeah, exactly. But Kuniev, listen, for all that he is, I knew when he was fighting Blades, I was going to be a dangerous fight for Blades because Blades, at the end of the day, doesn't make really intelligent decisions. I mean, we've seen it over and over again. Super talent, athletic, big for the division, has all the entire recipe to be a champion. I mean, he's got the wrestling, he's got, the speed, he's got the length. Good, but he makes dumb decisions. He can be chinny at times, and Kuniev did do a good job, like you said, defending the takedown. He seemed comfortable. He didn't panic. But one thing that Blades knows that he has is that if he needs to break off, he really trusts his striking. Sometimes to a fault, he trusts his striking. Like sometimes he will strike just and just abandon his wrestling. When you look at Jailton Almeida, the indictment I have on him is this is a guy who is a freak athlete. This guy knows what he needs to do. But then once he gets it there, it's almost like the blood in the water is gone. He's blind to the blood in the water. So instead of going for a finish, instead of trying to, gain a better position, he's fine sometimes. He could sit on top of you for 3 minutes left in a round and not finish a fight. And you're like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what are you doing? That's my problem with him, because the more you allow somebody into the fight, as the seconds go on, as the minutes go on, you're just giving that person another opportunity to get up and now maybe swing the pendulum in their direction. That's what scares me about Almeida, not his ability to get the fight to the ground or to take his back. My problem with him is that when he does get it to the ground, when he does put himself in an advantageous position, there are times we've seen him do it numerous times. He's in a perfect finishing spot and he doesn't finish. It's almost like he's afraid he's going to lose position, or he doesn't want to empty the tank because he feels like he's going to gas out. It's almost like there's something within him mentally that doesn't allow him just to pull the pin and go, but the pin that I want to pull out now that you said is it's in the smaller cage. It encourages grappling. It encourages wrestling. He knows what he's good at. He's going to be in on him from pillar to post. He's going to, dedicate the hips, try to get him to the ground. And I think Kuniev will do a good job to a point, but I do think eventually Jailton Almeida is going to, he's going to succumb to the pressure of Almeida's grappling and wrestling. And he'll probably, I don't know if he's going to finish him. He'll probably, win a decision or something like that. But I will say this about this spot. I feel like this could be a possible buy low spot because people are so down on Almeida. They're down on his cage IQ. They're down on his finishing ability. They're down on a lot of things about him, where this could be a possible spot where Jailton Almeida, like you said, is he going to, break the spell? And all of a sudden now you're looking at the end of the fight going, man, that really was a buy low spot. He looked like a minus 200 in that fight. So I haven't decided yet. I want to see where this line moves, but it's something to keep an eye on as a possible buy low spot on Almeida.
You're not wrong. The only thing keeping me away from it, Mike, if there's a buy low spot I want right now, it's maybe Bautista's the one I could be talked into. If if money comes in, because like I saw him as low as, that's not listed anywhere else, so I didn't want to tout it too much, but on Schmetch mine, it's a minus 161 for Bautista, which starts to tickle my ear,
Oh yeah.
And again, I like my angle that I had. And the one thing keeping me from this is a reminder we had last week, Mike, where again, people have a hard time understanding. They think it's some kind of cop out when you're just stating like a simple fact that the sky is blue. But picks, plays, and analysis are three different things, and there are certain tales as old as fucking time. Like I was saying on the Anakin Florian podcast this week. Shout out to those guys for having me on. But my analysis was spot on with the Tai Tuivasa fight, right? And even though the pick was wrong, and I didn't have a ton of exposure, I just had Tuivasa by KO in like a round robin, right? Regardless of the result of Teixeira squeezing that one out, which was the side to bet on that fight, right? Like I got so much shit for saying that Tai Tuivasa was live. I wouldn't tell anybody to run to the bank with it. I didn't play, again, I had teensy exposure. That's it. But it was a tale as old as time. People were just like so confident in this 3-1 favorite. And now maybe they are kind of at least learning the lesson temporarily, right? And now, like you said, Mike, now it's a buy low spot because they're like, oh, there's no way Jailman a heavyweight should be minus 300, especially Jailman last time out. And then you see all this money start pouring in on Kuniev, right? And yeah, but again, it's heavyweight, it's wild. So here's my betting angles for this fight, Mike. Tell me what you think. A little more wilder, a little more sexy, but I don't want exposure to like any heavyweight fights heavily. Just in general, I try to avoid it. But I feel like fight ends in round 2 is going to be really live, because if Jailman, whether he gets the hint and goes, I need to strike from these positions, or maybe not, maybe he just puts more urgency in the submission because, like you said, Mike, he's afraid to lose position, but he also is trying to apply lessons from last time. So we just get a more aggressive Jailman, right? I think that's going to be live in round 2. And I think Kuniev can survive, but if he survives and Jailman fails, I think Jailman's going to be in his own head, and I think he's going to crumble come round 2. So look at what fight ends in round 2 that number is. If it's decent, it's going to be in my round robin. I think it's going to be better than fight ends in KO and more safer. Not that either of them are safe. And here's a real crazy flyer for big plus money. I never recommend these, Mike, but when I told you I was watching tape, I wanted to see how Kuniev kind of fights. A lot of these Russian guys, especially these guys that they're not from the Sambo background, they're more the Wushu Sana, they're more the striking Russians. You see them grab the fence all the time. And the reason is, or one of the reasons is, I'm not going to pretend to be all knowing, right? But I've watched the sport for decades, and I've watched myself a fair share of regional Russian fighters, right? And regional Russian shows. That's why I know about these Russian guys. And if you watch those shows, Mike, there's tons of fence grabbing or rope grabbing. If it was like the old M1K, like the refs never take points for that shit. So these guys come in and they actually grab it a lot. And in MMA, even in the UFC, the civilized athletic commission looked over, like they usually let it go. However, they did make it a point after the egregious fouls in recent months. They said they're going to start taking more points or whatever for eye pokes or this or that, right? Fat chance, right? That being said, Mike, I think Jailman's going to be aggressive for the takedowns, and I think Kuniev's going to be grabbing the fence. He grabbed the fence like 3 times in the first round against Blades alone. Okay, and now now we're going to be in the quiet apex where it's it's harder to get distracted. You're really focused on the action. It's really blatant when you do something. And,
so maybe we're looking at a point deduction.
Yeah. I know I'm being long-winded here, folks, but I don't recommend these much. It's live as hell for this fight, folks.
Do you know the odds on that yet?
I'm sure that's already out, but they're usually like plus 2,000 or plus 4,000 kind of a deal.
Not a bad sprinkle. You want to throw the 10 spot on there or something like that? I mean,
yeah. We can look that up. But that's my angle for this fight. I'm going to be officially picking Jailman, but fight ends in round 2 and point deduction, I think, are both incredibly live, no matter who wins.
Yeah, I like that. I'm going to look into that actually.
All right, let's push on. Let's keep the train going. We've got Michal Oleksiejczuk versus Marc-Andre Barriault. I once thought I had to get this guy. That's another story for later. It wasn't this Marc-Andre, but it was another Marc-Andre from Canada. Anyways, that's another funny story. But this Marc-Andre is plus 385, folks. Michal Oleksiejczuk is minus 500, which I'm sorry, I don't think in any universe. Spoiler alert, I'm going to be picking Oleksiejczuk here, Mike, but I don't think in any universe this guy should be minus 500. I'm going to throw it to you here after I give the totals, southpaws, and apex records. But over 1.5 is plus 148. They think it's going to be done early, hence the Michal Oleksiejczuk being favored. So under 1.5 is minus 168, still playable for you chalk-hungry underhounds. Not me, but, if that's your take. Marc-Andre Barriault, he's 1-2 against UFC level lefties. Ironically, he beat the fellow pressuring lefty in Eric Anders, but lost to counter outfighting lefties Chris Curtis and Christoph Yatko. Different styles, each of them, but you get what I'm saying there. As far as the apex records go, though, Marc-Andre Barriault, well, he is 3-2-1 in that apex, whereas Michal Oleksiejczuk, he's got a decent record there. He is 3-1. Mike, what do you got for this fight? And should Oleksiejczuk be a minus 500 favorite?
Yeah, no, he should not be a 500 favorite. But I will tell you this is a perfect example of what you can do to a fighter when you change camps And Oleksiejczuk has shown that. I mean, this is a guy who was on a 3-fight losing streak. He goes over to the Fighting Nerds, and now all of a sudden he goes from this like rip-torn fighter, just throwing power, looping shots, and now all of a sudden he looks like he has a little bit technicality tied to his game. He looks happy. He looks like he's more confident. So the trajectory on him is going up. So I do believe he belongs to be the favorite. But do I think he belongs to be this much of a favorite? No, not many fighters are. Barriault's a guy who's super tough, but he did lose 4 of his last 5. He has that one-way style, like he's driving down a one-way street. If you can't deal with that, you're going to succumb to his pressure, and he's gonna power bar. I mean, that's his name. But as you get older and as you're war torn and as you start getting into these battles, like sometimes you have to alternate your game plan. And his game plan, the way he leaves his chin on the shelf, the way he's willing to just go into battle so freely as you get older, it's just a recipe for fucking disaster. And that's, to me, that's the situation he's going to here. He's going with a guy who, yes, he is becoming a little bit more technical. He is with a better team. They're actually drawing up a blueprint for him now. But at the end of the day, his power still is power. And if Oleksiejczuk catches you with a shot, you're going to feel it. So I do think at the end of the day, the line is terrible. But I do think this ends inside the distance with Oleksiejczuk getting his hand raised.
Awesome. By the way, point deduction on Schmet Schmem Shmee Shmem is we'll say your name if you want to sponsor the show, folks, and we'll go with your lines. By the way, hit up Pat Mayo. But they got it at plus 2,000. By the way, if you want to put a 10 spot on that,
not bad, dude.
Yeah. I just laid it, folks. But to pick up on what you're putting down, I completely agree with that, and I do think he is going to land that big shot. Barriault's chin was the thing he was known for, but he's shown that can be cracked. Now they both had fight of the nights with Shara Bullet. I don't know what that says, but it does say that Barriault, he's not like he's getting knocked out every time type of deal. I remember that Cesar Mutanch guy back in the day who would get like touched and he would get knocked out, but then he was like knocked out like 3 or 4 fights in a row, and then everybody was betting the knockout prop, but then he started just going to decision and started getting wins as well and not getting knocked out. So it can be kind of tricky like that. And don't get me wrong, I don't think the chin ever gets better, to your point.
Well, right, Arlovsky, look at Andre Arlovsky. Remember, he was going on a stint where he was getting chinned, and then all of a sudden, like, he was taking these fucking shots, maybe not winning the fights, but he was still taking these shots, and you're like, where the hell did this fucking beard come from?
Yeah. And again, it's not that, he did a miraculous regrowth, but undoubtedly overperforming, right? So you got to be careful about that. And that's why I'm going to stay away from that. And the stupid betting line is why I'm going to stay away from this fight. But here's what I wrote for my live targets. Marc-Andre Barriault is my live target, man. Again, picks, plays, and analysis are different things, folks. I'm picking Oleksiejczuk here, but at minus 500, well, what am I going to do with that? I don't even want to parlay that. You're like, what's your second parlay piece? It ain't him. I'm not trusting him. The price, much less a non-trustworthy fighter. Whereas Barriault, he'd been training at Kill Cliff, got a full camp in, plenty of southpaws to train with. And although Oleksiejczuk is with Fighting Nerds, he's still repped by them, so maybe they'll be in his corner. Maybe they did some game planning for him. But according to his camp, he's been in Poland for this. He's been back home for this one, so he's having to travel overseas for this one. So if this goes over, if Barriault even gets out of the first round, I don't care if he lost it and lost it clearly. I'm going to be looking and probably touching his live line. It's that because you look at Oleksiejczuk's record. He's got almost 20 fights in the UFC. Right, he's almost got 50 fights, by the way. When he considers, I know he's only 30, but mileage is more important, right? Right?
Yeah,
100%. Talking about that with Volk and Diego Lopez not being as far off as people were predicting because it's mileage, and he's got a ton of mileage on him. And if you look at that, and he's got a big sample size to go off of, and like 20 UFC fights or something like that, or close to it. He's only won twice. One was a no contest, got overturned because he was on EPO against Khalil Roundtree. Way back in his UFC debut. And the other was a fight that he probably shouldn't have won, in my opinion. Modestas Bukauskas. It was a split decision that I don't even know how it was a split, but you had guys like Tony Weeks and Ron McCarthy being the suspects there, who I do not rate very high at judges at all. No offense to those guys. Too many suspect scorecards. So the guy basically he loses every time on paper, essentially, when it gets out of the first round. So even if MAB is looking bad, that's almost an auto live bet. I'm not saying I will, but it's got to be really bad conditions for me not to bet MAB if this fight extends.
Yeah, and you know that Oleksiejczuk's probably gonna kind of lead the parade in the first round too. You know what I mean? So he could be 1-0 Oleksiejczuk, and you get a really steep line on Barriault at that point live.
Oh yeah, I mean you could easily get like a plus 3 to 5 to 1 range, and that's not even being hyperbolic.
Yeah. Well, if it's 3 to 1 now, I mean, if you think about it, plus he might be plus 5 or plus who knows.
Yeah, I'm trying to be conservative.
Yeah. But I mean, it's definitely worth a look for sure.
So again, picks, plays, and analysis are 3 different things, folks. There, and that's kind of an example. Let's push on here to through the main card. We got Jean Matsumoto versus Farid Basharat, one of the 2 Basharat brothers on this card. This is arguably the better Basharat, right? Minus 275 represents that, and his winning record. Comeback on Jean Matsumoto plus 235, over 2.5 rounds minus 400, under 2.5 plus 315. Mike, for as wrong as people like to say I am, or this or that, and whatnot, like it's funny. The odds makers, whether I hit these bets or not, they adjust the next time out, right? We'll talk about that with points handicaps, but we get a lot of crap for, even though me and Mike put home plenty of points handicaps between both of us, right? And sure enough, Mike, we'll get to it. The 2 fights that I want points handicaps on are the fights that aren't offered points handicaps in my house. Funny that,
not yet though. Not yet. They sometimes they lock them up until like Friday.
Yes, but no. I've noticed a trend too that when they leave them out and they have it, but they have it done after and before the card, so they have the shittier prelims done as well. That means they left it out for a reason. They know they don't want to take those hits.
Yeah, they do that sometimes. But I've noticed sometimes in my book they do that. Like I'll be like, I want this points handicap, and they're all out, and then there's a couple that are, and then like Friday, the day before.
Yes, sure.
Up,
Yeah, that is absolutely true as well. But again, it's just like the books know, it's like, you're crying because you took Miles Johns and you and you came up short. It's like, well, I actually cashed a split decision because again, I'm not one of these bettors who are like, this is happening 100%. If I see an angle that can either be a bonus and or God forbid a potential hedge or some kind of insurance, I'll take those if it makes sense. And I got saved from the split decision prop. But yes, most people did think Miles Johns won, and that's not crying over spilt milk, right, Mike? Because that's reflected in both the opening and the opening lines and the action it's taken is that many people thought Matsumoto lost that fight. So he's not getting a ton of respect even as a dog here. Do you agree or disagree with that? And more importantly, what's your take on this fight, Mike?
Yeah, I think he's a tough kid. I think Matsumoto's a really, really tough kid, but I think he's up against it here. I do. I think this is the better one of the better Basharat brother. I mean, from obviously what we've seen on paper and on film. And I think that, like, even with the striking, I mean, Matsumoto's got to keep this on the feet if he wants to win this fight. And I think that, Basharat is good enough on the feet, very comparable on the feet to him, to the point where you got to worry about his hands. You got to worry about his grappling. You got to worry about his wrestling. You got to worry about like kind of the whole spectrum. If you're fighting a guy that you just got to worry about his grappling, then you got to keep distance. You got to keep range. Just like if you're worried about, a boxer, you don't got to worry about those 2 levels. You just got to worry about his hands because he's not going to throw a kick. I just think eventually Basharat's going to find his way to the ground with this fight. His entries are good. He's fast. He's pretty educated when you watch him on film, the way he kind of processes things and he makes his adjustments. And I think, like, for Matsumoto to keep this fight on the feet for 15 minutes, even if he does keep it on the feet for 15 minutes, there's no guarantee that he's going to outclass someone like Basharat, because Basharat is pretty good on his feet as well. But I just think this is going to boil down to Basharat grounding this fight, eventually getting to the fight to the ground. And even if he doesn't finish the fight, because Matsumoto is a super tough kid, it's just going to be the optics of maybe a close round, maybe a round where, it can go either way. There's a minute left in a round, and we're like, all right, which way is this going? And Basharat gets on his hips, takes him down, and wins the round. So I'm going Basharat here. I think the line is a little bit bloated, but I do think he's absolutely the rightful side here.
Yeah, I agree, man. I'm not even going to say dog or pass, because to say that, I would have to say I would have to feel like the fight's going to be competitive, right? And then you have a decent dog number, and then there's justification. But I'm not even of that thought, right, Mike? I'm more along your thought because, again, like I just mentioned, I love split props. I just mentioned points props. Minus 140 isn't a great number for Jean Matsumoto, points prop, but it is a playable one, right? But I'm not even interested in any of that, Mike, because I'm not even confident he can win the 1 round, much less fool one judge into thinking he won 2 rounds for a split prop. You know what I'm saying? So for that reason, I'm actually staying away from this fight altogether.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you. I even with parlays, I'm not a big parlayer when it comes to like 3-to-1 odds. I try to just stay away from, because at the end of the day, a fight is a fight is a fight. You know what I mean? There's certain ones that I'm like, yeah, lock that up. I don't care if it's minus 400, throw them in a 3-leg parlay. But this one, I could see a situation where, like I said, Matsumoto's tough. He's good on the feet. He's a tough kid. Like, you can slip on a banana peel. But if my analysis has proven me correct, like, this could be a 30-27.
Yeah, and this could be a safe parlay piece that I regret on passing. It's not the second piece to my parlay.
Yeah.
Obviously, that wouldn't make even money with a minus 340 of Horiguchi. But the next fight, it does have it. I went hunting for a low. Those like minus 180. To minus 200 parlay lines. The lower parlay legs. I don't know how sneaky it is, Mike, but you get my thought there. Anyways, we got Dustin Jacoby here, and he is stepping in to face Julius Walker. They both had different opponents. Justin Jacoby was supposed to fight a card 2 weeks prior, or he's supposed to fight on the last week's card, actually, Australia. So he didn't have, and it was thankfully it was canceled enough to where he didn't have to travel out there, but not long enough for him to get out of shape. So I don't know how much you want to consider him a short notice fighter. He's minus 180. Come back on Juicebox, Julius Walker plus 155. Love Julius Walker, real active on Twitter community. He follows me. Seems like a really nice guy. He's trained a bit at Extreme Couture out here. He's traveled around a bit. Under 2.5 for this fight is minus 115. Over 2.5, minus 105. Now that can feel a little trappy because again, I was looking at Jacoby. I had Jacoby written next to Gooch as far as points KO props for both of them, and both of them, they're really not much different from their money lines. They know, right? The bookmakers know, right? And Julius Walker, he's never been finished, but we really haven't seen too much of him at the higher level either, right? And Jacoby's a guy where he can either finish you in the first round or win by decision, right? We've also seen Jacoby with like injured foot, not being able to kick and still be able to win fights against Oleksiejczuk, I believe. And, I believe the worst case scenario for him would be maybe that fight where you got to draw with Maxim. That Maxim guy, who was another tall guy like Julius Walker, serviceable kind of everywhere, but really like the push into the clinch, right? And made that fight really ugly. I think that's going to be Julius Walker's pathway here. But again, man, unless something, there's a real banana peel situation, which obviously I have a record of finding myself on those sides of, right? I always want to give respect to that. If anybody does, it's me, right? That being said, I feel like it's kind of a low price on Jacoby. So instead of laying the chalk on him straight up, because it's a little too high for my price, I paired him with the Gooch for minus 102, and I put 2.04 units on that, Mike. What do you think?
Yeah, I like that. Jacoby, this is an interesting spot, right? Because it could be a situation where like, dude, that was free money, and it could be a situation where you do got to be concerned a little bit with Jacoby getting up there, in age, and he is kind of one-dimensional. You can kind of blueprint him, but at the end of the day, the guy's got good takedown defense. He's got a decent get-up game. He's not easy to track down because he is such a dangerous striker. Very good counter off the back foot. The thing I noticed about Julius Walker is who he reminds me of a little bit. He reminds me of like he almost reminds me of Devin Clark a little bit, right? Like,
yes,
you know what I mean? Like he's got that style. He's got paths. He's got paths. But I feel like he doesn't finish like what he starts. You know what I mean? Like he'll get in on your hips and he'll have good entries, and he just doesn't finish what he starts. Then when they break away, this is what I noticed the most about him. His chin is there to be just taken. I mean, sure, he's taken some big shots, and he's come back, and he's hasn't been knocked out flat. But at the end of the day, like, you can't be putting your chin on the shelf against someone like Jacoby, because eventually he's going to find it, and eventually he's going to fucking take it. So I think this is a situation where Julius Walker might look good and look like you're giving him, because what you want to do with a guy like Jacoby at a high level striker, you got to close that gap. You got to enter the void, and you got to take his range away from him. But if you're taking his range away from him, you're just stalling, and you're not able to get him down. Or eventually, when you open that space back up, Jacoby's gonna find your chin. And if you keep pressing him, and he knows he only has these little windows to score, it's gonna make him score quicker. He's going to throw more. He's going to know, all right, I got to get this off before he presses me again, which is probably more dangerous for Walker because he doesn't have any kind of defensive prowess on the feet. So I do like Jacoby here. I think this is a situation where it could completely go awry if Walker stays on his hips and finds some success grappling with him and just like kind of laying and praying. But I think eventually it's going to open up in space. And I think eventually Dustin Jacoby's going to hurt him and probably finish him. So give me Jacoby here. Don't know what I'm going to do with this line yet. I still haven't gone through the props, but I do like him in this spot.
Yeah. For me, it's by any means necessary, right? When you take the chalk in a parlay, just win by any means necessary. Jacoby, by the way, 4-1-1 in that smaller octagon, 5-1-1 if you want to count the Contender Series. Juice Box, of course, is 1-0 inside that octagon, smaller sample size. But again, sample size, right? It's like if I'm going to hate on people for being overconfident on a guy with no sample size like Teixeira, right? Like last week, why would I not use sample size when you have it then? Conversely, right? And not to be reductive, when you look at like Derek Lewis, he only loses to guys that are the top 5. There's a decent barometer for that. We just talked about Oleksiejczuk, how he has a high losing percentage past the first round, right? We have these sample sizes that tell us this. And Jacoby's is if you're unranked, he feasts on the unranked. He's been free money. If you look at his record, he's basically been free money against unranked guys outside of the draw, right? That came in like the middle of the pandemic, right? Like outside of that, he's been basically free money. If you look at right, it's guys like Khalil Roundtree, who he arguably beat, right? He arguably beat him. So I don't know, man. It's Jacoby all day. By the way, Matsumoto and Farid were both undefeated coming into this fight in the smaller octagon as well. But let's move on to the next fight, shall we? Let's push on down to the prelims. We got Alex, the Great White Morono, versus Daniil Donchenko. Donchenko is going to be a big favorite, minus 650. Comeback on Morono, plus 425, over 1.5 rounds, plus 105, under 1.5, minus 125. That under is very playable. If I didn't hate unders, Mike, I would look at this one. But that could also be a trap line where you're just like, oh, Morono's old and we've seen him knocked out. And Donchenko is like this stud who's super explosive. And we just saw him, put the work on a respectable guy in size Nando, right? And that was a respectable win, even though that's not a guy with a UFC sample size either. But again, lack of UFC sample sizes here. As far as the small cage goes, before I throw it to you, Mike, Morono 5-3 in that smaller octagon. Donchenko 0-0, but he did go 2-0 in tough, which also takes place in the smaller octagon, although those were non-UFC level opponents. Mike, what do you got for this fight?
Yeah, I'll be short with this one. This one, you know what makes me a little nervous about the over and under? I am picking Donchenko, by the way, just because I feel like, where is Morono? You know what I mean? Right. Like, is he really locked in? Is he really clocked in? Is he just looking for a paycheck? I mean, he's got his school. And listen, I like Morono. I think he's a very educated, very fight-educated person, and I think he would make a fantastic coach. I really do. I think Morono would make a fantastic coach. But he's up against it here. But here's why the over and under scares me a little bit. The over 1.5 or the under 1.5, I should say, is because Morono is so unorthodox and so off-kiltered and so like out of tempo that you got to lay a beat on him. Like, he's very goofy when he fights.
Jank-weight.
Yeah, he doesn't do anything correct. Like, really, on the feet, he doesn't really do anything correct. And he's got a good Brazilian jiu-jitsu background that he doesn't use. But on the feet, he's just very up and down. He's very janky. He's very like goofy foot. And you got to kind of lay a beat on him first. You know what I mean? Then once you lay a beat on him and you're able to start like connecting on him, then all of a sudden, then he kind of opens up. But initially, like, you don't have to be a good fighter to last. If you have a janky style, like you said, that fighter has to kind of lay a beat because it's something they really haven't seen, or it's something like you're kind of off rhythm, you're off tempo, and it's like, all right, what is he going to do next? Like, why is he rotating this way? Why is he, moving towards my power hand? Why is he doing all these things you're not supposed to do?
Yep.
So that's what scares me about that. I could see him having a little bit trouble in the beginning, trying to lay a beat on him, and you could kind of see him hunting, pulling back the trigger a little bit because he's not certain which way he's going to go. So I'm going to take Donchenko. I think eventually he finds a finish, but that 1.5 is cutting it close for me.
Yeah, I agree. I'm taking Donchenko. It's cutting it too close. I'll probably avoid this fight all over. But he fights janky because he's in the jank weight division. Mike, I got to shout out my guy Fenyo X guy on the fight site. Make sure you give him a follow and subscribe to his stuff. By the way, we came up with the jank weight division. There's three different welterweight divisions, just like there's 2 different heavyweights, right? There's the heavyweight division, which is like 5 guys. And there's the rest of the heavyweight division, which we saw with Tai Tuivasa. It's called the T-shirt and the pool division. Shout out to Brad Taschuk there, right? So there's 2 divisions in welterweight, Mike. It's wrestleweight where from Matt Hughes to Usman to right, it's been wrestleweight at the top. Then it's been the rest of welterweight, right? But since the pandemic, we've had a subsection of hell in the welterweight division. It's called the jankweight division. We saw McAuliffe. Remember McAuliffe last week? We talked how janky he is. And he was throwing the most jankiest right hooks, and he kept catching Oban Elliott as slow as they were. Remember that, Mike? It was like, what the heck? How is he getting hit by those, right? And I say that because it takes us into the next fight, Mike. We have a former jankweight world champion, Niko Price, baby. He's not defending the mantle anymore, but a jankweight former champ nonetheless, going against Nikolay Veretennikov, a more jankier R-word type of fighter, R-word strength, kind of, even though he's had tough fights with lightweights. Veretennikov is still the favorite here, minus 235 comeback on the former jankweight champion, Niko Price. Plus 200, spring break forever. Under 2.5 rounds.
Oh my God, he looks like him.
What from
the actor from that movie.
Yeah, James Franco, Spring Breakers.
Spring break.
Yeah,
that was actually a good movie, bro.
He does. That was Harmony Korine or something. Yeah, he looks like he looks like Niko Price, but he sounds like Bryce Mitchell. I got shorts every fucking color. I got designer T-shirts.
That was actually, I actually like that movie. That was actually good. I thought I was one of the only people to ever see that movie.
No, I saw it over in New York when I was over there chasing a girl that I annoyed the crap out of by just quoting that movie. Spring break forever. I got shorts. By the way, so yeah, I'm gonna make it short. I got there's not a great reason to take either fighter here, Mike, but I'm gonna go with the underdog here, and I guess I'm not alone. Price opened at plus 275, so money actually came in on him. I haven't bet him yet. I don't plan on betting him. I would probably throw him in a round robin if he stays around 2-1 because that's still a decent number, and you get a lot of coverage for what's a round robin leg, right? But kind of like I said, when two OGs meet, right, or when two similar styles meet, or similar theme fighters, I pick the OG. And even though Veretennikov is probably more technical than Price, he's still janky. And Niko Price is like Bane, man. He's like, I was born in the jank. You simply just try to imitate the jank. So I'm going to go with Niko Price here. What do you got for this one, Mike?
Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, Veretennikov is he's 3-4 in the UFC, but I will say this, like, Niko Price is a guy that's just like hanging around. What's that movie? Hanging Around.
Yeah, it's Rounders. Hanging
right?
Around.
He's just like hanging around. Like, he lost 4 of his last 5. And you're looking at a guy who literally, dude, he's got 7 fucking kids, bro. He's the Antonio Cromartie of MMA. He just had his 7th kid fucking last year. You know what I mean? So it's like, why he's fighting. He has no choice. I met Niko Price. I met him in Atlantic City, and I had a conversation with him. And Niko Price on the microphone and the Niko Price that you see on TV is the Niko Price in real life. Like, he's really like that. Yes. He's very happy. He's very goofy. But when you're looking at him and you're like, what else would this guy actually do for work? Like, if he left MMA, you know what I mean? So it's like, what else can he do? He's got to raise 7 kids. He's got a newborn. So it's almost like even if he didn't want to, his hand is kind of forced here. You know what I mean? To fight. And with that $25K bonus now that they're giving, that goes a long way for somebody like him if he can get a finish. And he's very high prioritized for a finish. I mean, that's his shtick. He'll find a way. He's got that. Back in the day when he first came into the UFC, he had that death touch. You know what I mean? So I'm still going with Veretennikov here, though, man. I just think that Niko Price is really just like a very high risk for high reward, which that's kind of his MO his whole career. Right. And even though I'm not high of Veretennikov in any fashion, any way, shape, or form, I can't trust Niko Price at this point. I just can't.
Oh, sure. Yeah. They're absolutely not trustworthy. That's why I'm picking a big dog and I'm not showing like any real interest in playing him. But yeah, I'm still going to go. I love what you said, by the way, because I was watching his Instagram. Like, he's been doing seminars, and you're right. He absolutely is that guy. Like, he's trying to teach a seminar, Mike, and he's just like, he's trying to explain a technique. And he's like, this is why you want to do this, because sometimes you guys know you'll get the guy, and maybe you'll get him with that punch, and he'll be like, oh
yeah, bro. I talked to him. I had like a 15, 20-minute conversation with him. You know what I mean? In Atlantic City, I was calling a fight. I was calling the fights for Ring of Combat. So I was there.
Oh, nice.
And he was there. And I was at the food area, and I was eating. I was talking to him, and I was like, bro, this dude is not, this ain't a fucking joke, dude. This fucking guy really talks like this.
Yep. Yeah. It's nuts. Before I push on to the next fight, I will say Niko Price 1-2-1. One of those overturned fight. I think it would have been 2-2. But like, yeah, in the small apex. And
if you're going to bet Niko Price, I think you bet him round 1 and 2.
Yeah, there's that too. Absolutely. Veretennikov, he's 0-1 in the UFC Apex, 0-2 if you count Dana White Contender Series because he lost on there as well. But yeah, let's push on to the next fight, shall we? We got Bruna Brasil versus Ketlen Souza. Boy, am I going to be quick with this one. And I actually did look into them. I always look into Bruna Brasil because like she sounds like a Bellator fighter because Bellator always loves names like Bruna Brasil. Like if you have Bobby Lee, King Green or whatever, like they'll take like names that sound like other people. Anyway, she's plus 130 here. Ketlen Souza minus 150, under 2.5 plus 280, over 2.5 minus 350. It's chalk, but I do believe it goes over, and I do believe Ketlen Souza wins more times than not because she's not going against a bigger girl who can just out grapple the crap out of her, and I believe she also has a one of those split decision losses, I agree with her losing. And I believe the other one, I and many disagree. Not that I'm trying to die on any of that cliff, but I'll take Ketlen Souza here. Mike, before I throw it to you, just some quick Octagon Apex records. Bruna Brasil, 0-1 in the Apex, 1-1 if you count her Contender Series fight. Souza is 1-3 inside of that Apex. What do you got for this fight?
Yeah, I don't got much, but I'm going to go with the dog here. I'm going to go with Bruna Brasil in this fight. I like Ketlen Souza. I think, the thing about her, she brings that like Jessica Andrade type style into the cage, very, large movements and stuff like that. And I got to be honest with you, man, Bruna Brasil, I don't think she's too far behind, but with her at the Fighting Nerds, I think they could kind of alter her game a little bit. Like I said, I do like the blueprints that they set out. I am a firm believer when you need to make adjustments, you need to travel, and you need to, sometimes find a new home. And I think this is a situation where she might surprise some people. She might look a little bit sharper. She might be able to create a little bit more space and a little bit more angles where the bigger movements are coming from Souza. And as the fight grows older, it's a tale as old as time with fighters like Andrade and Souza. When they feel like they're behind on the cards, they just start going for broke. You know what I mean? So I'm going to go with the dog here on a card that I'm not crazy about. A lot of dogs. I'm going to take Bruna Brasil.
All right. Yeah, I don't blame you. The dogs are live, especially in the WMMA fights. Nothing new here, I believe. Even the wider lines, which we'll get to. Let's get to this next fight, though. I'm much more interested in. Said Nurmagomedov versus Javid Basharat. Looking to bounce back from some losses there for both guys, but especially Basharat. Saeed plus 110, the underdog. Money came in on him, but it's kind of settled there. Whereas Javid Basharat opened the favorite and still maintains it, albeit slightly at minus 130, under 2.5 rounds, plus 235, over 2.5 rounds, minus 290. We've got Saeed 2-0 inside of that smaller inside of the Apex. Although he is 2-1 if you want to count. I'm going to reference the Jan Dvalishvili, their first fight over in the Hard Rock that I was in. Again, that was in the smaller cage, and he lost a split decision to Jonathan Martinez that was controversial to many, not me because I was on it, but also it was I don't think it was like a robbery fight, genuinely speaking, or anything close to that. But a lot of people were upset with that decision. And then on the other side, we got Javid, who is 3-1 in the Apex, 4-1 if you want to count his Contender Series fight. What I didn't mention about the Basharat before Farid is he's training with his brother at American Top Team, and even if it's a good move, which I think that is, they were training over here at the Extreme Couture, Jake Shields, and there's obviously tons of people to train with here at Extreme Couture too as well, but it's not a bad move going to American Top Team either, right? Plenty of training partners, and they both have been there for about a year and both have had at least one fight since. So I like to talk about that adjustment period as a potential thing to look for, Mike. They both have cleared those numbers for what it's worth. That being said, I do like Saeed here. However, we talked about the odds makers adjusted, Mike, and this is one of the fights where I was looking for a points handicap. Of course, they're not giving it to me. And even though, good bets are bets that cash and bad bets are bets that don't ultimately, we see bad bets cash all the time, and we see good bets, lose all the time, right? The last card that I just went over was full of them, at least for me. I'm sure for a lot of you guys too, right? And last time out, Mike, I think we're on opposite sides, but I felt really good about my bet. It didn't hit, but it didn't cost us anything either because Saeed is one of those fighters where I always say you want to look for the finish only prop, right? He's terrible at winning decisions, but he's always live for the finish. and he's really hard to finish despite being terrible at winning decisions, if that makes sense, which uniquely suits him for that prop. And I got it last time for minus 150, which again was playable. Guess what they opened it this time, Mike? Minus 200, minus 200. They know again. So for a guy who doesn't hit things or whatever, it's like, I'm not trying to be like, oh, it was a really good bet, even though it didn't care. I'm really trying to do that, but I feel like this. Do you get what I'm saying, Mike? That the books almost give me that confirmation that I'm looking for. We're like, okay, I must have been on the right track, because the bookmakers. Why would they keep scaling the castle walls and making them higher if there wasn't something to it, right? Do that make sense what I'm saying, Mike? And more importantly,
yeah,
what you got?
Yeah. You're ahead of the optics. That's basically what it is, So, with this fight though, I'm not ready to sell Saeed up the river yet, dude. Like, I do not like what I've seen from him in his last two fights. I don't like the way he gasses out. I don't like the way he's kind of front loaded. But at the end of the day, the guy is talented. Like, you can't take it away from him. And take the Nurmagomedov name out of your mouth. Like, everybody says no Philly, nothing. Don't look. I'm not looking at the name saying he's Nurmagomedov, because he's not. He's a good striker. Does he have some nasty ninja chokes and stuff like that? Yes, he absolutely does. He can cinch things up like this, But at the end of the day, like, when he's on his back, he's really not that serviceable. He does gas out. He's a guy that, like I said, he's a front-loaded fighter. And if this goes into round number 3, you're going to be fucking shitting in your pants. Your ass is going to be puckering with Saeed.
Yep.
But Basharat, sometimes he just doesn't seem like he's like one like a Bryce Mitchell, even though I'm not crazy about Bryce Mitchell, or to really put his foot on the gas and get in your face and put his head in your chest. He's kind of more, in and out and looking to score and looking to make everything look pretty. And I think this is a spot where people are underselling Saeed a little bit here. And I actually think Saeed should be the favorite in this spot. Slightly, not by a lot. I don't think it should be like a minus 170, but I was lining this more as like minus 125 for Saeed. So I do like him in this spot to win the fight, but I just don't know if there's enough meat on the bone for me to pull the trigger on it.
Yeah, that's another thing. There's a lot of meat on the bone. Like, Saeed's going to be my dog pick. I'm picking Saeed as well. So is that, correct me if I'm wrong, is this the first dog that we're both officially picking together?
Yeah.
Just to keep track of.
Yeah.
And I think he might have been, a dog of the week before. Who knows? But am I still? Sorry, check. There we go. Hopefully, you guys are hearing me okay. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Saeed as well. No bet as of right now, but yeah, I'm gonna go with Saeed as well. Let's go to the next fight then on the docket. We're gonna go to Song Wang versus Eduardo Moura. Song Wang is minus 350. Comeback on the dog. Eduardo Moura plus 285. Under 2.5 rounds. Plus 160. Over 2.5. Minus 185. Yeah, man. I'm picking Kong here, but this is not a fight I want to get involved with from a betting perspective. Mora's big, physical. She'll go for takedowns. She's still raw. She's still developing. She's shown some stamina issues if memory serves. And so she could be live here though. But I'll take Song Wang. I just think she kind of can play with her food a bit, which has gotten her in trouble, and or even in victories, made fights a lot closer. Before I kick it over to Mike, let me give some Apex records. Wang is 1-0 in the Apex, and Moura is 0-0, although she's 1-0 if you want to count her Dana White Contender Series fights. Not going to do a southpaw record because Song Wang fights orthodox, but she lists herself as a southpaw. But yeah, I'm picking that and no go here. Mike, you there? And what do you got for this one if you are, bud?
Yeah, I got Kong here. I think that one fight against Fernandez that she lost, I think it was because she was feeling herself a little bit too much. I think she's kind of corny when she comes out with that Joker face and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, she is a super, super talented striker. You know what I mean? So I think she's going to keep more on notice. I think she needs to utilize her leg kicks to take away that shot because Moura is tough. She's going to press the pocket a little bit, and you want to kind of send her those warning shots out. I just think it's going to be a class thing. I think Kong should just outclass her, but the women's MMA minus 350, nothing I'm going to go near, but I think Kong is pretty safe in this spot.
Absolutely. Not much else to say there. I don't blame anybody taking more in like a tout master kind of game if you guys are into that. But let's go to Moeen Gafurov versus Jacob Vickwatch. It's like Dick Watch with a V. Vickwatch apparently is how you pronounce it. Speaking of Dick Watch, you got to watch the Bone Temple, Mike. I got to get you to see that. Minus 145 versus Muin Gafurov. Come back on Jacob Vickwatch plus 125. Over 2.5 minus 135. Under 2.5 plus 115. Before I throw it to you, Mike, let me give you some Apex stats. Gafurov 0-1 in the Apex, 0-2 if you count Dana White Contender Series. Vickwatch, the grappler, of course, is 0-0. Let me ask you: do you like Dick Watch or not, my friend?
I honestly think this might be a little bit of a buy low spot on Gafurov. You know, okay. When I look at Vickwatch, I look at a guy who, you know, I think now it's a little bit different, but I think, you know, when he beat Patchy Mix, people were like, holy shit, he beat Patchy Mix. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it held a little bit more validity than it does now. Obviously, you know, people who were screaming on fucking mountaintops that this kid was going to be the next coming to Christ look kind of foolish now that he's not even in the UFC anymore. You know, but when I look at Vickwatch, I think there is still some semblance of resonation with that win, you know, and I think for as many woes as Gafurov have, I honestly think Gafurov's better everywhere. I really, really do. Mm-hmm. So when I saw this line, it was kind of intriguing to me. Like I said, it's small sample size with Vickwatch and stuff like that, but I think a lot of this line, and the reason why it's lined the way it is because you just don't know. You beat a guy in Patchy Mix who was extremely highly touted. He was a 7,200 dog from DraftKings perspective in this. And now he's coming in, he's fighting a guy in Gafurov who's kind of middle of the road. But everything that I see on film, I feel like Gafurov kind of has him, like, even if it's just by an edge, I just keep leaning towards his way in certain aspects of the game. So I think it could be a decent buy low spot on Gafurov here.
Mike, would you you know that little patch of hair Gafurov has on his back?
Yeah.
Is that would you rock one of those if it meant that, like, I don't even know what kind of hypothetical to throw your way, but I just got that stuck in my head. would you rock it? Or would you shave that thing? Would you shave that thing?
Oh, fuck yeah! Speaking of hair patch, bro, did you see what happened in boxing this weekend?
Yeah.
Bro, what fucking person, bro, is going to fucking go? Bro, not even a welterweight or a lightweight. You're going to go into a heavyweight a thumping fight, bro, with a fucking toupee on your head? The fuck is wrong with you?
That looked something from The Simpsons, bro. It looked like I felt like I was watching The Simpsons or something, you know?
And he won!
By split decision.
Yo, did you see the line?
Yeah.
He had a line
the
going
crown.
He
had like a crown, bro. Yeah. He was on Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel interviewed him. Apparently, it was funny. Like, he had a good sense of humor about it, which you have to. But, like, yeah, that was hilarious. But back to this fight real quick. I'm gonna pick Vickwatch here. I agree with what you're saying. By the way, I agree with everything you're saying. And Gafurov, he's trading with Syndicate MMA, so you got guys like Aljo in the room, and a lot of good guys in that room. But you got to keep in mind, like, he's been training with them for a minute. It's not a I wouldn't expect too much different, but how you explained him is exactly right. I would say that in the submission grappling, I would obviously give Vickwatch an edge, and it is in the small cage. But I'm not going to be playing him. Here's what I wanted to play. I liked more than Vickwatch. I liked Vickwatch points handicap, except they're not giving me one, Mike, what I was telling you earlier. The fights where I wanted the points handicap like Saeed before, in this fight, none. That I would have been all over those. But nope. I don't want nothing.
Somebody in the chat, I'm assuming they're talking about me, said that I look like Brian Redband.
What? Holy shit! I haven't heard that name in forever. Shout out John Element 6.
I don't think that's a compliment, but I guess thanks, John.
Right. Yeah, Jack Brian Redband, maybe, I guess. I don't know. That's
goes,
hilarious.
Holy shit, I thought this was Brian Redband. When I saw it on my feed, I was like wondering what he was doing commentating UFC. Thanks, bro. I don't think that's a compliment, but thanks, John.
I'm surprised he didn't go with me for Bobby Lee or something, that we did a joint podcast as Bobby Lee and Redband reunited. All right, let's go to the next fight, and we'll knock this last one out of here. Lastly, but not leastly, we have Priscilla Cachoeira. Shout out to Paul Shag, former host. Priscilla Catch a Beating is the nickname he's coined. Claudia Segula is who she's fighting. Segula is going to be your favorite, albeit slightly, minus 153. plus 135 comeback on Cachoeira. Under 2.5 minus 105, over 1.5 minus 115. It seems crazy to see those numbers for a women's fight, but not if you're familiar with Cachoeira, who is 2-1 in that small octagon. Of course, she lost her last time out when she got stoppage beat by Jocelyn Edwards, which was wow. And Segula is 0-1 in that smaller cage. Not much to say here, but Cachoeira is a dog that I almost will blindly take at this point. And I will take it against somebody who got TKO by Melissa Mullins. Mike, what do you got for this fight?
Yeah, I'm actually going. Very, very rarely do I do this, but I am going with Cachoeira here.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that, you know, for everything that she is, the one thing that everything that she is not, she's very, very tough, you know, and I don't think Segula can hurt her. I don't think she has the firepower. I don't think she has the torque, and I think she's going to keep Cachoeira in this fight. And I think Cachoeira, you know, like I said, despite everything she's got, you know, the veteran cage savvy. She's been there with some of the elites. And I think this is absolutely a spot. I fucking hate to say this, but I think this is absolutely a spot where she absolutely can win this fight. So I'm taking Cachoeira in this spot.
Now, how more absolutely to make her the Benji Boy dog of the week, or are we going with Saeed for the dog of the week here, just to, you know, give a little hint to our guy Dayton backstage as he prepares his dog of the week for us?
I don't know, man. Do you really want to make fucking Cachoeira our dog of the week?
I was leaning more toward Nurmagomedov myself, but I wanted to see if you had a strong opinion on it either way.
Yeah, I'd feel a little bit better with
that's what I figured. Yeah. That's what I figured.
He says only in the face. John, only in the face. He looks like he's got a fucking iron deficiency.
Yeah. Red Band looked sickly back in the day. I don't know how he's doing now. I haven't seen him in a minute, but I mean, he did look kind of sickly back in the day. So maybe, you're right. Maybe that wasn't a compliment. Mike, I'm more curious on what are we going to have a best bet this time out? We were hesitant, although can I take my credit? Because I said it both on the show and to you and privately that I said, if there is a best bet, it's going to be Jacob Malkoun, and that came through with fucking flying colors. Shout out to my guy, Tony C, listener to the program. He had the smartest betting slate last week because he just had one bet, and he went big on Malkoun. And the other people who had smart and winning slates, their biggest bets were Malkoun and Volkanovski. So shouts to those people. Shouts to the listeners who have done well. I just want to real quick plug CFFC 150. I've got video betting breakdowns I'm going to be doing for them. So any support there would be really appreciative. More just general breakdowns because the lines really aren't out. They don't give you a ton to work with, but I do tell you what to look for in case you have a house that offers totals, rounds, or finish props for those fights. So stay tuned to that. But Mike, is there anything that jumps out to you for a best bet for this fight card?
I mean, listen, we're obviously for best bets, we don't want to go over the minus 200 range. So I would say my thought process would be either Bautista or Jailman.
Jailman, oh man, that's dangerous. In that case, I would go. I would go Bautista. Jailman, going to Pound Town. It's the half baked. It's going to be the half baked episode. It's going to see, is he going to go to Pound Town? That is the question. You also brought up Devin Clark earlier. Remember his cornerman, David Clark? It's the best cornerman ever.
Bro, he
had to fight Devin. Fight, goddammit! Come on.
Bro, he had. What about the fucking quads on that guy, dude?
Oh yeah, insane.
And he just didn't know how to fucking use them.
But I also felt bad for Devin Clark because his dad was all screaming at him. And Mike, we've all done sports when we were a kid where you whether it was your dad or not, we all were on the team with that one dad who was just, we were all freaking afraid of. And, you know, you see his kid was just like, oh, that kid will never live up to that dad's expectation, no matter how much he scores. Holy shit. And you almost felt bad. And usually the kid was a stud athlete. But like you're like, oh, you felt bad for him. You're like, oh, he's never gonna fucking make his dad happy, no matter what he does. Holy shit.
Dude, that was my father. My father, especially boxing, dude. My father used to literally like, it was almost like Teofimo Lopez's dad. He's like, what the fuck are you doing? You're not listening to nothing I say. He wouldn't even give you advice. He'd be like, just go in there. He wouldn't even listen.
Would he yell at you like David Clark yells at Devin?
Oh, bro, he used to fucking torch me, especially when we got home, dude. Like whether it was football or basketball or baseball or boxing, especially in boxing, though, bro. He'd be like, "You look like fucking dog shit." I'm like, "Thanks."
All right. Well, we'll go with Bautista for our best bet then, and then while I'm gonna guess Dayton's dog of the week, Dayton, do you have our dog of the week ready that we talked about?
I know what it is. I know what he's gonna pick, and Oh shit!
No, that's all right. That's the Benji boy.
Oh.
That's the Benji boy. Wow.
Oh yeah,
He looks better in every graphic, man. Look at that realism. I want to reach out and pet him. What's up, Benji boy? Baby boy mans. All right, let's go. We gotta get a dog home of the week this week. I think, you know what, Mike? I think the Benji boy dog of the week's gonna hit, and your boy's gonna finally end up in the winning column. But let's see if Dayton can get his first dog of the weekend. I'm gonna pick. Who is Dayton going for? I'm gonna guess Mora. Eduardo Mora is going to be my guess.
I'm gonna say he's going to Bruna, Brazil.
I love how we're going with the women. We're Dayton's exotic women. Dayton, did we get your stereotypes right?
It's gonna be a woman.
I knew we got it. Brazil, you got her. Nice. Yep. Okay.
No explanation needed on this one here, Phil.
No, not at all, man. Not at all. We got him. I love it.
Once he said I'm back on my dog, I was like, it's gonna be a chick.
I love it. I love it when you have friends too. You can kind of predict what they were gonna do. Like I had one buddy, I had another buddy, Mike, when I used to do DraftKings. Like if there were any black guys on the fight card, he would have the darkest DraftKings lineup every time, and like it didn't matter. It was he'd pick we're like, dude, you picked Willie Gates. He's like, hey, what's wrong with Willie Gates? Like, Mike, you even know what you're picking? Like, are you just? He was a white guy, by the way, but it was just hilarious. We were just like,
so who's the best? Are we going with Bautista? Or are we going with Jailman?
You're making me want to go with Jailman, saying it that way, the Jailman. But that's not. We can't trust Jailman as a best bet, man. I'd rather go with Bautista. As much as I respect Lock Dog as a dog, he is the quintessential dog. That being said, for the reasons we laid out, it's Bautista, and I'm also going to look to sprinkle Bautista 3, 4, and 5. Or if that money line goes down, I'm going to fire it on myself. So I am putting my money where my mouth is. Let's go Bautista on that, Mike.
I'm very upset about something. I want to just tell you.
What's up?
That you don't have more confidence in the Jailman.
I know I should. I don't know. Maybe it's because I, ended up on the right side fading him, and I'm scared to trust him. Because that was a squeaker of a fight, regardless of if you thought it was controversial or not. It was a squeaker. But yeah, I'm gonna go with that. And I do like my parlay, to be honest, Jacoby and Gooch at -102. I think that's
like that, yeah.
I think that's and then the only thing else I laid down, folks, again, I got Bautista 4-5 decision plus 140 or 145, I can't remember, for a unit. And then I put just a quarter unit to cover in case Oliveira gets a finish in 1, 2, or 3. And it sounds like both me and Mike are going to throw a little $10 spot on Jailman versus Kuniev.
I got to see if my book has it, but if they do, I'll definitely put a sprinkle on that for sure.
Yeah. $10 wins you 200, so you don't know, you won't notice if you miss it, kind of a deal either. So that's not a bad bet there. And then from top to bottom, as we'll go down here, we are both taking Bautista as our best bet. We're both taking the Gooch. We're both picking Jailman. Sorry, the Jailman. Yeah, he's my half-baked. He's the half-baked things again. We're both picking Oleksiejczuk, but again, I'm looking to live bet Marc-Andre if we get out of round 1 there. We're both picking the Basharat brother over Matsumoto there. Both picking Jacoby over Juicebox. Nothing personal, Juicebox, all love. We're both taking Donchenko over the Great White, Alex Morono. Reminds me of a problematic shirt a roommate of mine used to have. We're both taking. I'm taking Niko Price, and Mike's taking Veretennikov. So could that be a head-to-head? That's the one thing. That's what we're missing, our head-to-head.
Wait a minute. Hold on. What about the Gaffroff fight? Ooh. We're on the other side of that. Let's do that as our thing.
Gaffroff Wicklaps? Okay, I'm down.
All right.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. That's actually, that's better. Yeah, I got the dog on that side. Let's do that. Yeah.
No shit sandwich though. No, I can't.
No, this is just for a shot for this one. I was going to say this is an Apex card. No shit sandwich on the Apex card. Come on. Unless there's something really passionate at the top, then maybe we can call for it. But yeah, let's keep it to the shots for the Apex cards. But yeah, we're split on Veretennikov Price. We're split on Bruna Brazil and Ketlen Souza, and you're on probably the better side there because you got the Dayton dog juju. Dayton's on Brazil. Mm-hmm. Easy, Dayton. Easy. Phrasing. We're both taking Saeed Nurmagomedov as the Benji Boy dog of the week over the other Basharat bro. Both taking Kong Wang over Mora, but we're not interested in touching that one. We're on the opposite ends. That's going to be our speaking of Bane, our Bane pink guy head-to-head. Wicklash versus Gaffarov. That'll be good. Mike's on Gaffarov. I'm on Vic Watch. I'm on Dick Watch. We're both on Catch a Beating. Shout out to Paul Shad, Cachoeira over Segula. And yeah, that wraps it up. Mike, where can they find you for your plays and all that good stuff that you do over there, man?
Yeah, go to the madlabmma.com. We do everything. We do DraftKings, we do wagering blueprints, breakdowns, fight brain analysis. live streams before the fight. And guys, I want to thank everybody who joined the last week or two. We had a great turnout for the Fantasy League, the Mad Lab First Championship. If you're not in, you could still get in. I mean, if the leaderboard fluctuates every fight, I'd say if you miss this week, probably just wait for the next one. We're doing them every 8 fights, which is awesome. And it's not like an 8-fight thing where it gets at the end of the year, then those couple people play each other. After the 8 weeks, somebody's going to get a really nice trophy and stuff like that. But we had a really, really good turnout. It's free. It's free for the members. So if you're not a member, come to the madlabmma.com. It's on the DFS page, how to join the actual league. And like I said, if you're 1 week late, you have plenty of time to catch up. There's so many different ways that you could score and stuff like that. But if you haven't and you wait for the next one, every 8 fights we're going to be doing, you get whoever wins gets a trophy. You get on the website forever as far as on the Wall of Fame. So it's a good time. But I appreciate everybody who did come out. We had a really good turnout for it.
Awesome. You can find me at Substack at DanTomMMA, at DanTomMMA on all the socials. I'll post my picks and plays as per usual on those. I have all the Southpaw and Apex stats up on my Substack there as per usual. And again, subscribe, support the Mayo Media Network. Share this out. Give us a shout, and we'll try to share you out on social platforms too. The more sharing, the better. Really appreciate it. Try to get more active in the comments if I can, and remember to share my round robins out there. Because we've had some alternates been hitting out here, like with Gaethje and Krylov. So see what I can cook up for you guys. And regardless, man, good luck on your picks and plays, and always